Welcome to 100 Yards of Football this morning. It's our NCAA game preview. Today, we're going to preview the number 13 ranked Auburn Tigers, War Eagles, taking on the 14th ranked Texas A&M Aggies. If you like the video today, please come in and share it. I'm your host, Vincent Turner, and joining me is our college football savant. And he's also our producer. He does a lot of work here at 100 Yards Football. He's the very talented and uncontrollable Mr. Logan Landers. So, if you like the video today, please come in and share this. We break down these two SEC powers. The 13th ranked Auburn Tigers taking on the 14th ranked Texas A&M Aggies. So, Mr. Landers, tell us about both teams and who's going to win the game on Saturday.
Yeah, first off, how you doing, Mr. Turner? Glad to have you on the show talking some college football. It's always a great time to be here talking some Saturday matchups, some SEC teams duking it out. Both these teams, like you mentioned, have an even record. They're right there with each other in terms of the college football ranking system in the AP Top 25. So both these teams have a lot to gain and also a lot to lose. This is a crucial matchup for both of these teams. Texas A&M, we all thought they could potentially get into that college football playoff. That might be kind of, shutting its window here with those two losses on the season. There was a lot of people thinking they could go, be that 14, be that 13. Two losses on the year, that's pretty much wiped them out. Two, like I said, those two to Arkansas and the Mississippi State back-to-back weeks. But if you're Auburn, you're looking pretty solid. Like I said, they've looked good on the year 6-2. Bo Nix and crew have really turned around. Their only two losses being to the UGA Bulldogs and the Penn State Nittany Lions on the year, two ranked teams. They're coming off back-to-back wins. Auburn is against Mississippi and against Arkansas, so they have a good bit of momentum on their side. And as for Texas A&M, they got a 3-game win streak. Of course, they knocked off the mighty Alabama Crimson Tide a couple of weeks ago. They beat up on Missouri, and then last week they beat up South Carolina. So you have both of these teams. They're looking pretty good, and you got to think who's going to budge. Who's going to be the team that takes over and gets the win in this one? I'm going to start off first with the Texas A&M Aggies, led by quarterback Zach Calzada. 1,364 passing yards on the year, 6.5 average throw, and 12 touchdowns with 7 interceptions. So that is a little bit of something to look out for. He is a little turnover heavy for my liking personally, but whenever he is able to just get some confidence and chuck the ball like he can do, like I say, he's throwing for over 1,000 yards, getting closer to 1,500, that shows that he is able to throw it with some of the best of them. And for a guy who has only a 55% completion percentage, not one of the best throughout the nation, he's able to get it done, though, still. And this is a big game for him to prove, is all this hype around him for real? Can he go up against the big guys? Can he go up against Auburn now and pull out a crucial win for these Texas A&M Aggies? It remains to be seen, but I think he is in for a good day once again. Of course, the running back Isaiah Spiller. People are already talking about him, Vincent. This guy might be one of the best running backs in the country, let alone the SEC. So he is looking great. 761 rushing yards on the year, 5 touchdowns, looking great. Also, shout out to Devon Ackney, the guy behind him, putting in good work. 608 rushing yards and 5 touchdowns to boot. That's a two-headed monster if I've ever seen one right there. Pretty even in terms of rushing yards, over 1,000 combined. And 5 touchdowns a pop. Not too shabby if you're Texas A&M. You got those guys in the backfield doing good work for you with Calzada manning up front. It's good to be a Texas A&M Aggie right now if you love some offense. Jalen Widemeyer, the tight end, leading the team in terms of reception yards. A little bit weird nowadays to see the tight end leading the team. He's got 25 catches, 4 touchdowns, looking good. But Aeneas Smith, the wide receiver, that is the main go-to. He's got the most catches with 31 on the team, 347 yards right behind Jalen, and he's got 6 touchdowns on the year. He's going to want to keep stat pad and get those numbers looking real nice, and we'll see how many more he can score against that against the Auburn defensive unit. It remains to be seen, but looks like he might be in for another big day as well. Usually in these close contested matchup, Vincent, I like to go to the kicking game. because that can be the factor between a win and a loss is how many field goals you miss if you mess up an extra point. And so, for talking about these Texas A&M Aggies, they have Seth Small, their kicker. He's 27 to 27 for extra points. That's always what you love to see. However, he's 14 of 18 in terms of field goals. He's missed a few from 50 plus, and you got to think that he's also missed 2 from 40 to 49. So it's not always an on the money guarantee this guy's going to make it. He's not a Sebastian Janikowski or anything like that who's just automatic from deep. You might, if the game's on the line and it's a longer field goal for Texas A&M, can you trust him to get that ball through the uprights one more time? I don't know. We'll see. But that is just something to look out for when I was looking at all my notes for this game. Is that might be the deciding factor in this game. The defense for A&M looks really good. Aaron Hansford, Antonio Johnson, the linebacker, the D-back, leading the team with 55 tackles each. And also, DeMarvin Leal, 5.5 sacks for the young man, the D lineman, looking like an absolute star so far for this Aggies defense. They've got 24 as a team in terms of sacks on the QB. They got 9 interceptions for their program for this year, looking really good. And they got 30 passes defended as a team. So that's how you know their defense is stout, their offense is high-powered, and there's a reason they're in the top 15 in terms of the rankings this year. But let's move on over to the Auburn Tigers and talk about what they're going to do, who else can be leading their team and trying to get them a victory this upcoming Saturday. Of course, the man who's been there for quite some time now, Bo Nix. One of the more curious cases throughout college football, a guy who earlier in the year people thought he was washed up, that this might not be the best year for them, and that might be time to move on eventually from Bo Nix. But he's played his way back into the fans of Auburn, back into maybe the guys who were hating on him, who were not a big fan of his. He's played really well this year. Like I said, over 1,700 yards passing on the year, 62% completion percentage, 9 touchdowns and only 2 interceptions. So not the flashiest numbers. He's able to throw for a lot of yards, but not a whole lot of touchdowns this late into the season. But he's able to be consistent when needed. And between him and the running back, who I was just about to get to, Tank Bigsby, one of the best names in college football, with a guy like Tank and you're running back, you got to be pretty good. And this young man is 666 rushing yards and 7 touchdowns for the young man on 125 attempts. That lets you know that they are not afraid to give him the ball and punch it through the gut, run around, get a sweep, and most importantly, get into the end zone when needed. He's looked really good for this Auburn team, and he's only just rising in that draft stock. Also, the backup, Jarquez Hunter, 530 rushing yards on the year, 3 touchdowns on only 69 attempts. So he's good for that little spark plug you need. Whenever Tank's a little bit tired, get him in there, get some speed going, and he's right there to help you out, get that momentum rocking over there for the Auburn Tigers. And I mentioned Bo Nix. He might not have the flashiest passing numbers, but he's also able to get it done on his feet as well. Dual threat quarterback, 48 attempts, 189 rushing yards, and 4 touchdowns for him, using his feet to get a little bit crafty and get into the end zone. So Auburn, like I said, they're going to mix you. They're going to hit you with a heavy run offense. Bo Nix is going to do what Bo Nix is going to do, chuck the ball all over the place and get it to his receivers when needed. The receivers looking good. Kobe Hudson leads the team with 375 passing yards on the year, looking really good. 13.4 average per catch. That's their big man they look for. And also Demetrius Robertson, 367 yards, 3 touchdowns. He's looking pretty good. So if you're Auburn, your offense is looking pretty solid. You're going to expect a heavy dose of running. Bo Nix is going to pick you apart, I think. And their defense just needs to step up and make things good if you're wanting to get the win for the Auburn Tigers. So Kobe McLean, 67 tackles on the year, looking absolutely tremendous. Chandler Wooten, the linebacker, with them, 57. And they are trying to take over. On the D-line, you got Colby Wooden putting in work, 4 sacks on the year. You got Derek Hall, 4 sacks on the year right there for him. T.D. Moultrie, 3 sacks for him. 22 total for these Auburn Tigers, looking really good. They got to get to Zach Calzada if they want to get a win in this one. They have a total of 21 passes defended and just 5 interceptions on the year, 2 of those being from Roger McCreary, the cornerback. He's had some good moments. So, if you're the Auburn Tigers, you're looking good on the season. This is a big matchup. Both these teams are pretty much even. They're right there in terms of record. They're right there in terms of the ranking. Who's going to get the win in this one? Like I mentioned, Auburn's got a nice win streak against 2 teams, against Arkansas and against Mississippi last week, against Ole Miss. So I think that Auburn might have a little bit of an advantage, but Texas A&M is right there. This is really a 50-50 toss-up if you look at it in terms of these 2 teams. But if I had to go with the winner in this one, just looking at all of this, I might need to lean a little bit towards the Auburn Tigers in a close game. I like the way they've played. I think they're going to have a little bit of momentum. There's something in my gut, Vincent. That's how you are. That's how you are as a sports commentator. It's just something in your gut. You might want to go a little bit for the underdog. You might want to go for a team that not a lot of people for it. I'm just feeling the Auburn Tigers this upcoming week, getting a close win, and I think that they will win this one. I think it's going to be a little more high scoring. Both these teams are able to put up a good amount of points. So for me, I think the final score will be the Auburn Tigers 33 and the Texas A&M Aggies with a score of 30. A 3-point ball game. It could be a toss-up. Like I said, I want this to be a close battle. I got the Tigers winning this one and moving on and trying to get even more higher up in the AP Top 25.
Man, big-time football game. Both teams are kind of where we thought they were going to be in the SEC West. Of course, Alabama still, like I say, that good-looking woman at the top. They're still going to be the team. And when it's all said and done, Alabama's going to probably be playing Georgia to see who's going to go to the college football playoff. But I'm very, very impressed. I think Auburn has had a great football season under a new head coach in Brian Harsin. I think Texas A&M, Jimbo Fisher, last year lost some key people off that squad. I think they're sitting where we thought they would be. So I'm going to go with Auburn first. Keep it real quick and simple. You look at the Auburn Tigers, and I think the reason they're 6-2 is because of Bo Nix. He's a guy that came in 2 years ago with a lot of accolades. And let's be real, to the War Eagle Nation, he struggled. He was up and down his freshman year. That was expected. Then last year, he didn't really take a step forward. Everybody was saying Gus Malzahn was the problem, so Auburn ended up firing him. But this year, he got out of the gates real slow. But over the last 3 weeks, Bo Nix has been like his father, Patrick, back in the mid-'90s. He's starting to remind me of his dad that played on them great Auburn teams that had James Bostic and Frankie Sanders. Auburn was offense, defense. The thing goes around Bo Nix. Bo Nix plays well. Auburn can beat any team in the country. I'm just saying it. Last week, very impressive win over Ole Miss because I thought Ole Miss would win that football game because at that time I thought they had the best player in the country in Matt Corral. And Tanks Binglesley is starting to be that guy we knew when Auburn got him over the school, got him to commit over schools like Georgia, Arkansas, Alabama, and Clemson. So Mr. Bigsley is starting to be a guy that's playing the high level at the running back position. But Auburn, it's all about Bo Nix, War Eagle Nation. He plays well. Auburn is going to be a pretty good football team. Now to the Texas A&M Aggies. Very impressed with what Jimbo Fisher has done this year. He lost his star quarterback at the beginning of the year, came in with a second-string guy, upset the number 1 team in the country, Alabama. Mr. Isaiah Spitler is, I think, one of the top 3 running backs in the country. Reminds me of a Curtis Dickey. He reminds me of Johnny Hector. He's a very special football player. So to make it long, short, and sweet, if Bo Nix plays at a high level on this Saturday, I see Auburn being a very tough team to beat. On the other side of the ball, it's all about Mr. Spitler. Can A&M run the football with him at a high level? Once Mr. Spitler is doing his thing, you look over the course of the time he's been there, Texas A&M has been a very tough football team to contend with. So I'm going with you, my brother. I'm taking the War Eagles in a very close game, 27-24. Final words about Auburn and Texas A&M on Saturday, Mr. Logan Landers.
It's going to be a good matchup. Both these teams are pretty even. They both got a lot to prove. They both got a lot to lose, like I mentioned in the opening. And VT, we like some music here on the show, so I got one just for this game here. Back in the 1980s, little band that you might have heard of called Guns N' Roses had a song called Sweet Child O' Mine. And I think this lyric perfectly sums up both these teams. Where do we go? Where do we go now? Who's going to win? Who's going to lose? Who's going to drop in the polls and who's going to rise? We'll see. This is going to be a great game in the SEC between Auburn and the Aggies. I can't wait to watch it. It's going to be a great matchup. Get your popcorn ready because we're going to see some fireworks this upcoming Saturday.
If you like the video today, please come in and share. We surely appreciate it here on 100 Yards of Football. I'm your host, Vincent Turner, and joining me is the college football savant, Mr. Logan Landers, by way of Alexander High School in Douglasville, Georgia, West Georgia's greatest graduate. Thank you this morning here on 100 Yards of Football. Y'all be blessed and enjoy some college football this weekend.